Marvel Zombies, Protagonist becomes world's strongest hero. Episode 121. The source of magical knowledge in this area is a friend of mine, which has nothing to do with the sanctuary, and it can be regarded as magic beyond the worldview. The magic here is of the greatest value to you, but if your soul is not your own, it's best not to learn it. I don't want this knowledge to leak to the demon gods of another dimension. Yibai knew that Gui had given too much to protect her, and if her soul was also sacrificed, the result Yibai mentioned above could indeed happen. Part of my soul is in the magical entity Victory. Furuchi didn't hide this either. This Han Emperor, this is a trinity of magical entities, composed of the three forces of Ashit, Hogos, and Agamotto, of which Ashit is the god of white magic and the ancient god of the earth, and the family belief of the storm woman in the ex-belief story is Ashu too, and the magic of controlling the weather inherited by the family is the power of Ashu too. Hogos is not an ancient god born on earth, he came from another dimension, had a good relationship with Ashit, and the two teamed up to create Agamotto. As for how it was created, no one knows. It may be born in pregnancy, or it may be shaped by magic. The content recorded in the book of Vishan Emperor in Doctor Strange's story is a theory borrowed from the power of Vishandi's magical entity. Want to get that part of your soul back? I can help, it's a show of hands for me, and then owe you a price, Furuchi squinted at him. At least I'm fun here, not so boring. When you want to retire, you can come here, and then I will shape you a new body. You've also traveled through the multiverse, which connects you to more places. Such as the super-large universe, the omnipotent universe, and the universe outside the universe. All the stories we hear and see, even stories made up by people, as long as there is a chance of happening, it will happen in an infinite number of universes, and those places can be connected here. Yibai tried to recruit Gui. I'll think about it. Well, you hold this thing, it gets you in and out of here. Yibai gave it a privilege ring. Gui walked around Yibai and left. The two of Nat's Pepper were still reading at this time. Yibai walked to Little Pepper and asked with a smile, how is it? Little Pepper didn't raise his head and said, don't talk to me, I'm afraid this dream will wake up. Before waking up, you must watch more. Yibai. He walked up to Nat again and asked her, you want to learn magic too? Compared to the people in your family, I'm just an ordinary person. I want to have a skill. Nat said. It's really the same sex as Natasha, and once Natasha also learned magic for reasons. Actually, don't bother so much, remember the magic book I gave to Gui before. What's different about that book? The source of the magic in that book is me, and the magic recorded in it is cast by my power. Magic needs a price, which is also the source of most magic in this world. The power is borrowed. Rather than borrowing those who do not know the so-called expensive power, it is better to borrow mine. Yibai said with a smile. Did I sell you my soul? Nat turned his head and squinted at someone. Do you still want to leave? Yibai began to lose his face again. Okay, give me that book, I'll learn that. Nat thinks about it, it's okay to borrow Yibai's ability, no matter how bad the situation is. Can it be bad now? What's more, it's not bad now. Yibai presented a copy and handed it to her. Nat began to learn. This magic book has no threshold, mainly because the source of magic, Yibai, has opened his power to Nat and uses it without restrictions. She didn't even need to pay the price of mana to communicate the source of magic. Because Yibai would take the initiative to communicate with her and give her power, she only needed to know how to cast spells, it didn't matter if she had magic or not. This is also considered an alternative privileged user. Nat fans are studying hard and are still learning for hours. Yibai did not continue to disturb her, left the pocket space with Pepper, and returned to the material world, located in front of the Brick Street Sanctuary in Greenwich Village. Pepper was still unsatisfied, and even if she was slow to react at this time, she realized that everything before was not a dream. Man's curiosity to explore the unknown drives her moth to the fire. She said with an expectant expression, Yi, can I still enter there in the future? Of course you can, you have this ring, if you want to go there, the ring will send you over. Yibai sent another privilege ring. At this time, the time was already about 8 o'clock in the evening, and Pepper took the ring happily and put it on the middle finger of her left hand. Well, it's a delicate position. Yi, do you want to come to my house as a guest? I will make you a night snack. Yibai shook his head and refused. No, I'm going to the Himalayas tonight. Ah, it's so far away, what are you going to do there? Remember the woman with white hair and suddenly bald head before? She lives in Karmataj, and I plan to go to her library there to find some knowledge that I don't have here. Oh, okay then. Little Pepper looked a little disappointed. She also wanted to go with Yibai, but she was just an ordinary person, with limited energy, and after spending a whole day in the library, she was already very tired and needed to go back to rest. Bidding farewell to each other, Yibai manipulated the realm ability to activate, modified the distance with Karmataj, and appeared in Guyi's lair in a step. This is also Marvel's famous magic school, although the mages here are weak. Yibai felt that when Gui taught his apprentices, he must have hidden his secrets. Episode 122. Yi Bai and a certain bald head were sitting at the stone table on the side of the mountain at this time, drinking tea and discussing. Well, just small talk, and do what you have at hand. For example, a certain bald head was studying the magic book Yi Bai gave her at this time. Yi Bai, on the other hand, seems to be sitting here, but most of his consciousness is not in the body, but in the library of Karma Taj, using the sage ring to scan and copy all the magic books here. With the consent of a certain bald head, all knowledge here is defenseless for him. Due to the differences in different worlds, there are indeed many magic that Yi Bai's family does not have, and now they can be used to enrich their own heritage. With this knowledge, you may be able to open a pocket dimension magic academy in the future. He had thought about where to put the entrance of the college, so he found a station to get a 9 3/4 entrance platform. On Guyi's side, at this time, he was learning the magic of the chakra system in the book, and in this book, it was about magic, not some ninjutsu. To practice ninjutsu, you need to practice chakra first, and many of the contents in this book are simplified as much as possible. You don't need chakra to cast spells, you only need to silently recite the name of the source of magic, use magic as a bridge to communicate the source of magic, and seal your hands. The source of magic is Yi Bai, and then borrow the relevant techniques, and the spells can be released. It was Yi Bai who essentially released the technique, and the magician just borrowed the power to use it. Guyi had just put down the great fireball technique, ready to try it. She asked Yi Bai, "Is there any taboo in your magic?" Yi Bai shook his head and signaled that no, the power borrowed by Guyi was all woven by him, and he just took it and used it directly, and there would be no problem of losing control of his ability and hurting himself. Of course, there are certain exceptions, such as the ghoul seal of the 4 elephants. Guyi's hands pinched the seal smoothly, and he did not declare the noon. While pinching the seal, meditate on someone's name, use your own magic as a bridge, take the name as the goal, and establish a channel for ability to borrow. On Yi Bai's side, Eve, the artificial intelligence of the Sage Ring system, received Guyi's appeal, used Yi Bai's divine power to build a ninjutsu model, and finally threw the technique along the channel. It is complicated to say, but in fact, the above process is completed when the ancient seal is completed. Guyi pointed his head in the direction of the mountain, opened his mouth and blew gently, and a large fireball with a diameter of 2 meters was blown out, flying down the mountain at a speed of 20 meters per second, and did not dissipate until it was more than 50 meters away. After the technique was released, Yi Bai conveniently charged a little of Guyi's casting price. Also confiscated how many things, just a little DNA copy of the other party. This thing can be used to clone Gu 1 or 2. If Guyi really joins the gang in the future, he can use this thing to clone a new body for the other party. After all, the other party's body is almost hollowed out by the cost of casting spells over the years, seemingly similar to ordinary people, but in fact relies on magic to maintain life. Once the magic power is lost, the next second hang-up is not strange. Furuchi also sensed what she had paid, and she was puzzled. "What do you want my cells to do?" Yi Bai did not hide it and said his thoughts. After hearing this, Guyi showed a wry smile. "Look at me, I was targeted by you. Yes, I have a good treatment here, there are various benefits, and it is the best place for you to go after retirement." Probably after Guyi came back, Yi Bai mentioned this again, and she only hesitated a little and agreed. "Okay, but you have to get my part of my soul back first." "Yes." Yi Bai waved his hand to cast a spell, and a ceremony connecting the magical entity Emperor Weishan was arranged. This is a ritual recorded in the Book of Emperor Vishan, which is generally used to sacrifice oneself in exchange for more powerful permanent magic with Emperor Vishan. Yi Bai casually refined several fist-sized philosopher's stones and threw one of them as a sacrifice into the ceremony. The ceremony begins, the philosopher's stone disappears, and a shadow, whose face is not even humanoid, emerges above the ritual altar. "I want Guichi's part of your soul here," Yi Bai said to the ball of light. "Not enough." The ball of light sent out a thought to connect with Yi Bai, prompting him that a fist-sized philosopher's stone was not enough to pay. Yi Bai lost the second piece, the third piece, and until the 5th piece, a translucent soul phantom that looked the same as Guyi floated out from the ball of light and floated to Yi Bai's body. Yi Bai looked at Guyi on the side and nodded to her. Guyi first thanked Yi Bai, and then recontained this part of her soul into her body, and her soul was now complete. Reflecting on her body, she became younger. If she looked like a middle-aged woman before, then now she has become like a 27-8-year-old royal sister under the dual influence of the nourishment of the dark dimensional magic in her body and the completion of her soul. The most important thing is that she has grown hair and is no longer a big bald head. The ceremony ends and the projection of Emperor Vishan disappears. Yi Bai waved his hand again and put away the ceremonial hall. In line with the principle of helping people to the end and sending Buddha to the west, Yi Bai then created a cloning warehouse here, and arranged an anti-detection enchantment to cover this area of the two people, and began cloning with the ancient integrated cells collected earlier. Seeing his actions, and the device he took out, Gui raised his eyebrows, cast the DNA that was taken away, and actually used scientific equipment to create a new body? The other party, as the source of magic, is really eclectic. The cloning process went smoothly, and not long after, a girl with flowing black hair and a very good figure, about 17 or 8 years old, was cloned. Usually I really can't see it. It turns out that Gui looked good when he was young. 90 points are not to be talked about, 85 points are still there. Facing the clone of the fruit in the clone warehouse, Gui's expression was calm, and he was not embarrassed to be seen at all. Perhaps in the eyes of people like Gui, the body is just a skin bag, and the soul is the essence. In fact, the astral projection and magic, cultivated to the extreme, can permanently get rid of the shackles of the body and live forever in the posture of the soul. But at that time, people could not be regarded as people, but only spiritual creatures, just like angels and demons, living in a soul dimension that was completely different from reality. This body is yours. Yibai opened the clone warehouse and turned to the Ancient One. Gu nodded. There was no ink. Cast a spell astral projection, the body shook, the soul left the body, and floated to the new body to merge into it. The girly version of Gui floated out of the clone warehouse, and a yellow monk's robe flashed on his body with golden light. She slowly landed on the surface. Her new body was not burdened, she had not been so relaxed for a long time. I saw her hands pinching, and her original body gradually turned into bits and pieces of fluorescent debris, and these points of light merged into Yibai's body. Yibai was surprised. He discovered that Furuchi had given him his original body as a sacrifice. And his artificial intelligence Eve, on his own, shared Yibai's kaleidoscopic chakra eye with Gui. He has black lines all over his head. Nice eyes. Gui felt the change in his eyesight, as well as the pupil technique in his eyes, and began to sigh again. Yibai rolled his eyes. Don't do this kind of forced transaction next time, at least say it in advance. After obtaining Gui's body, he also obtained all the knowledge of the other party, and there was no need to continue to stay here. Yibai got up and prepared to leave. Are you leaving? Well, when Strange comes, you'll move to my side. Good. Episode 123. The time came to the beginning of 1999. On the morning of the January issue, the system issued a new task to Yibai. Mission: plotting to usurp the throne. Introduction: Zeus and Hera's first child has no name, and there is a prophecy that he will overthrow Zeus to become a new god king after he is born, so this unlucky child was suppressed by Zeus to the depths of the earth, and now he is about to climb out. Request: take advantage of the time when Zeus pretends to be dead and hides the disaster, snatch the sacred mountain of Olympus and move it to the pocket space. Reward: puppet alchemy level +1. There's something to it to do. When you rob the sacred mountain, can you do something else by the way? For example, Hera was assigned to plant flowers, Heber was used as a tea girl, Hestia was locked up in a small black house, and Ardennes was sent to the pasture to graze. MMP. Diana had to make a fuss if she wanted to know this. Not long ago, Diana quit her job at the Louvre and brought her adopted daughter Donna Troy to Los Angeles, country, to settle. I don't know what she thought, but she actually asked Emma to help and opened a Hellfire Club branch in DC Los Angeles here, on the grounds that it was a joke. The woman's personality is completely broken. However, this place also became the base of their family when they were in DC. The time difference between the two sides is different. Marvel morning, this side has just entered the night. Yibai came to the top floor of this Hellfire Club branch and found that it was quite lively. Wanda and Agnes, mother and daughter, Natasha and Nat and even Jessica Ariza were also there. But I didn't see Donna Troy here, and it is said that she went to Gotham to play with Dick Grayson, Batman's adopted son. It should be mentioned here that not long ago, Green Lantern Jessica and Aressa, as well as Caitlin Snow in Midtown, Kaguya and Hades from the ninja world, are now joining the big family, and now they are all incarnations. However, Kaguya and Hades have both recently been in the fantasy town plane, and they have a new life there, and generally rarely return. The divine war in that plane is still continuing, the gods are fighting back and forth all day long, the gods' brains are beaten into dog brains, and it is estimated that the dusk of the gods is not far away. The two of them became famous in Takamagara, and it is said that Kaguya became friends with Amaterasu's sister Tsukiyomi, and Tsukihami also said that he would also be named Kaguya if he had a daughter in the future. At first, I heard about this from Kaguya's mouth. Yibai was silent for a long time, and Kaguya-hime, who was in love with Take-Torai, originally came from this name. Terumi also made two friends, they are the sea god Mizuki Airphone Yuji and Yuya-hime, given that Mizumi is the main force of Takamahirahara and is occupied outside the world all day, and the Mienua sisters are currently owned by Hachiji and Shinjao. Ijiao also met this later moon mind, 80 Yonglin. Ahem, the topic is far away. Yibai walked to the middle of several people and sat down, and said, Diana, you may be in trouble. What trouble? Diana was puzzled. It can be called trouble, I guess her divine relatives are in mortal life. Jessica Cruz shook the wine glass in her hand and complained. Almost, but not the mortal, but the trouble of crawling out of the depths of the earth. Yi-Bai told them the story of Zeus and Hera's first child. Now, the eldest son returns with a grudge. His strength may be stronger than Zeus. He will definitely take revenge on Zeus. So Zeus hid, and even rumors of Zeus' death spread on the sacred mountain. Diana blinked, a little puzzled. What does this have to do with me? Obviously, she didn't care much about things on the sacred mountain. Even if her own father Zeus was usurped by her eldest son, it didn't have much to do with her. For a fable says that one of Zeus's many children would ascend to the throne with the bones of his brothers and sisters, and that man might be the eldest son or someone else, and Apollo might want to take that position, and his sister Artemis would certainly help him. Diana, you are also in the fable, or that you are calculated, already in the game. As soon as she heard that she was calculated, Diana's violent temper was immediately ignited. Which bastard dares to calculate me? I will teach him a lesson. Yi-Bai smiled and said, it's Athena and Zeus, the two jointly planned a conspiracy, and you are the most crucial pawn in it. If their plan succeeds, you will gradually gather some old gods around you who are willing to help you, and you will eventually lead them to face their eldest son and never die. In the last few days, Hera will know that you are the child of her husband and mistress, and you will be in trouble finding the door and entering the game. Yi-Bai said that spoilers are really cool. You guys who live on Mount Olympus are too dark. Natasha was speechless. Don't talk to me about Olympus, I'm not familiar with them. Diana emphasized this. She turned her head and asked Yi-Bai, do you think it is appropriate for me to go to the Marvel world to hide from the limelight? She heard her own father Zeus and her sister Athena calculating her, and felt that she could not beat her own father, and planned to go to the other world to hide quietly, so as not to be calculated. Can the monk run the temple? Hera knows that your mother is related to her husband, and will she easily let her go? Isn't there still you, Yi? Move the city of Shemishtra to your space. Diana smiled cunningly. She had long wanted to do this. In her opinion, there was no safer place in the world than Yi-Bai. If she could move her hometown, she could go back to see her mother at any time, and by the way, she could bring Antioch back from the peaceful world. If your mother doesn't mind moving. Yi-Bai nodded and agreed, and she said to Agnes, who was already 7 years old on the side, honey, help you Aunt Diana create a paradise island in the fairy world later. Got it? Agnes looks cute like wrapped in us. Diana got up. I'll go back to Paradise Island first to convince my mother. I'll see you later. After she said sharing Yi-Bai's ability, the teleportation disappeared. At this time, a white halo appeared not far away, and the sound of wings flapping could be faintly heard, and when the halo disappeared, Emma appeared there. Behind her, there is a pair of white angel wings. These wings are Emma's evil taste, and the parts added to the body with the creation function of the sage ring can usually be incorporated into the body, and they will grow when they need to be pretended to set off their charm. Not to mention, the appearance of the White Queen of the angel image seems to have increased by several %. She folded her wings and walked to sit down next to everyone, pouring herself a glass of wine. Good spirits, what good things have happened? Natasha asked her. Emma took a sip, put down the cup and asked everyone, you know Tina and Cersei, right? Natasha, Wanda, and other zombie universe visitors said that they knew that in fact, Cersei, a member of the Eternals, often cooperated with the Avengers. People on the NatDC side of the world say they haven't heard of it. Yi-Bai said that he was a little impressed. Episode 124. Tina and Cersei, they came to the Hellfire Club yesterday night to find me and told me that the Druids and Nightmares have united together with the intention of pulling the dream dimension into reality and covering the entire planet. They had already informed the ancient mages of Karmatage and sought out powerful people to protect their homeland through prophecy, so they approached me and wanted us to participate. Emma told everyone about it. You promised? Wanda asked her. Not yet. Wait, can anyone tell me who Tina and Cersei are? Na is confused. Are there these two people on the earth we live on? Those are two old antiques who have lived for thousands of years, and the witches Cersei and Athena in Greek mythology refer to those two. However, the legend is not true. Athena has a person, but not Tina. Tina just looks more like Athena, and Athena makes her her own ground spokesperson. Natasha introduced the isotope. It's Athena again. Isn't the number of times this name appears today? Nat was speechless. Yi, do we want to participate? Emma asked Yi-Bai. Whoever wants to participate, participate. Watch out for nightmares. That guy can turn dreams into reality, can easily pull up a nightmare legion, and can hardly be killed. The Druids are the Eternals, probably a little weaker than Kara. These people in Yi-Bai's family do have a strong sense of justice. No, knowing this kind of thing, the Green Lantern Woman duo is about to go to make fun immediately. Scarlet Witch Wanda has recently learned a lot of new magic, and is worried that the enemy has not practiced, and now the enemy jumps out on its own. Agnes followed her mother's footsteps, indicating that wherever her mother went, she went. Natasha also wants to participate. Emma saw so many people involved, she shrugged. Even so, I will participate too. Everyone went to the Marvel 199999 universe and participated in the Dimensional Wars. Bye. Not long after, Diana came back, and seeing that this place suddenly became extremely deserted, she was very puzzled. Where have all the people gone? Bai told her about the Dimensional War on the Marvel side, and when Diana heard it, she immediately said, I'll go too, just go over there to hide and be quiet. I've already said hello to my mother, you go over and help them move, I'll go first. Diana disappeared in place. Bai wordlessly sighed, got up, read the note teleportation launched, and in the next moment, arrived at the palace roof halfway up the mountain on the paradise island of Shermascara. A gold-armored and red-cloaked Hippolyta stood here looking down the mountain, heard movement behind him, turned his head, and saw a strange man. You are ye? I've seen my mother-in-law. Bai smiled and saluted. Don't call me mother-in-law, I didn't. Well, your excellency, are you ready to move? Show me around first. No problem. Yeber extended his hand to Hippolyta, who put his hand on hers. The two teleported and disappeared in place, and came to an island on the sea in the pocket immortal realm, which was a paradise island that Agnes had recreated one by one according to Diana's memory, except that no one had no animals and insects. It was exactly the same as the paradise island in the outside world, and even the city of Shermascara in the center of the island was recreated one by one. However, there is no one in the city, and it looks deserted like a ghost town. This is the world I created, and I divided the world into 3 parts, the mortal world, the fairy world, and the private area where Diana and I were. This is the immortal realm, an area equivalent to 10 European combined. Bai introduced this place to his mother-in-law. Hippolyta listened to a heartbeat, creating the world. Even if she was well informed, she had only heard of it in legends. What a wonderful man Diana had found. Zeus, can't even compare. Isn't there anyone else here? Hippolyta asked again. Yes, after my disciples die, souls will come to this world to be reborn, and they are currently living in the depths of the immortal continent, far away from here, and there are not many of them. The future will gradually become lively. Bai explained. Bai had designed the environment of the immortal world with his family some time ago, and this is no longer a wasteland, but a beautiful landscape everywhere. What about the mortal world? If we stay here, can we go to the mortal world? You are a mother-in-law, naturally you have privileges here. Go, take you to the mortal world to see. The two came to the mortal world, and in this place of the mortal world, there are only Bai's missionary dolls, and when they are not preaching, they will live in the pocket mortal world. In order to preach, Bai created nearly 10 million dolls some time ago. Most of them usually preach in different worlds, and the permanent population of the pocket mortal world is only 1 million. These people have built a modern city here. The degree of science and technology is similar to the outside world. There are things that should be there, and there are some things that should not be there. This city is called Aurora, and it is the only city in the mortal world so far. Bai introduced. Hippolyta, who was well informed, and who was not uncommon in the gods of the old times, saw at a glance the abnormality of the people living here. They don't seem to be human beings. It is the person I created with alchemy, usually responsible for helping me spread my faith in different worlds. The total population is tens of millions, most of them are in other worlds, here is just the rest. Mention this, Bai is proud. These dolls not only built the city, but also developed a financial system here, through money trading, through work to make money, rather than the original barter. These are not planned by Bai's family, but the result of the doll's own development. Watching the city become more orderly day by day is like watching your own children grow up day by day, full of accomplishment. Hippolyta didn't know what to say, and this son-in-law's ability was greater than she thought. After walking around for a while, Hippolyta said, let's go back, we can move. Returning to the paradise island outside, Hippolyta launched a mobilization order in the city of Shermascara, and all the Amazons gathered in the square in front of the palace. The mobilization of the whole city had not happened for a long time, and the Amazons did not know what the queen was going to do, and they were curious when they came to the square. Several theocratic sacrifices were secretly gathered together, and they thought that this must be a provocation by the royal queen Hippolyta to their theocracy. So they began to discuss whether to go to the temple and tell the goddesses on the sacred mountain about this in prayer. Throughout the ages, royal power and theocracy have been opposites, even the Amazons. Hippolyta had a god-king lover, but this matter could not be publicized at all, and once it was publicized on the island, the old priests went to the temple for the first time to blind Bibi in front of the statue of Hera. As it is now, it is only a mobilization, and the priests begin to make trouble. Hippolyta was also helpless, he couldn't kill them. Episode 125. The Amazons moved vigorously, and on the square in front of the palace, there was a huge gap in the space, and many Amazons carried all kinds of materials inside. Yeber and Hippolyta stood on either side of the gap, directing the gang to avoid undesirable events such as stampedes. At the time of the great relocation of the Amazons, on the west side of the city, in the temple of the goddess Artemis, there were several old priestesses with folded faces, kneeling in front of the statue of the goddess of the moon and the hunt, and Belila said all kinds of bad things about Queen Hippolyta. What? The queen wants to abandon the Paradise Island. The queen is disrespectful to the gods. The queen converts her faith. The queen does not respect tradition and has men. Artemis, who was accompanying her brother Apollo on the sacred mountain to meet the Queen of Heaven, Hera, at this time, as if she suddenly received a harassing call that could not be hung up, a group of old women's blabla sounds appeared in her ears, listening to her inexplicably irritable. This goddess sister is full of moonlight, her eyes are fierce, her temperament is wild, her body is fit, and she is not wearing luxurious clothing, but sexy leather armor made of mythical beast hide, quite a D&D system female ranger feeling. Annoyed by the sound of prayers, she helplessly injected divine power into her eyes and looked in the direction of Paradise Island. As the goddess of hunting, Artemis has excellent eyesight, thinking that the lasso of Mantra back then was when she stood on the top of the sacred mountain, tied to an arrow, and shot an arrow with a longbow to Paradise Island. She saw the Amazon relocation movement and found it interesting, so she whispered in her brother Apollo's ear, "Something interesting has happened on Paradise Island, I'll go over and take a look." Apollo nodded to his sister. Square in front of Paradise Island Palace. It was obviously daylight, and suddenly, moonlight scattered in all directions of the square. The light forms a point of light, and between the points of light, Artemis appears above the ground. Seeing the goddess descending, the Amazons knelt down on one knee to salute. Hippolyta was Zeus's mistress, and she didn't have to kneel, because our teens also knew about it, and it seemed that only Hera was not known on the sacred mountain. Artemis ignored the Amazons, she looked at the only man in the field, and said with interest, "Little handsome man, the faith in you is very strong. In this era, real numbers are rare. Can you tell your sister your secret? My sister will not treat you badly." Before Yibai could speak, the Amazonians around him were surprised. This man is actually a god too? I can't see it at all. Where did the queen know him? Will he fight with the goddess? Yibai ignored these noises, and faced this wild and unruly goddess of the moon and hunting. He smiled and said in a brisk tone, "Artemis, how about we make a bet? Tell me about it." "I bet you don't dare go inside." Yibai pointed to the gap he had opened. "What if I go in? I'll tell you all my secrets." Yibai is a thief here, and the people in his world, he can forcibly register the other party as his resident there, and then tell his own people the secret. If the other party does not dare to go in, the bet is lost, and he does not need to tell the other party anything. Artemis is a bold woman, and there are not many things she does not dare to do in many years. She smiled wildly, stepped forward with slender and toned legs, passed by Yibai's side, and reached out to touch the other party's cheek and said, "Prepare your story, sister is going in." Seeing her walk in, Yibai registered Artemis as a VIP resident of Pocket Space. Artemis, who entered it, found that the environment here was similar to the outside, and she used her divine power to look into the distance and saw the beautiful continent in the distance. She found that there didn't seem to be many people here, the continent was so big, there were almost no areas with people. Could it be a different dimensional space? She walked out of the gap again and returned to the square in front of the palace. Her beautiful eyes stared at Yibai. "Tell me about your secret." Yibai threw her a privilege ring. Artemis took it, looked at it a few times, found no problem, and put it on his finger. Feeling the function of the ring, the corners of her mouth turned up. "Interesting, little friend, if you encounter trouble in the future, report your sister's name, and your sister covers you." She left and went on an adventure to the Pocket Space Castle area. In the square, the Amazons looked at each other. They thought that the goddess would fight with this man. After all, how the man looks at it as an external god, not an Olympian god system. Is the result so harmonious? Hippolyta clapped his hands and said, "Okay, don't waste time, keep moving." The great moving movement continues. The old priests who had been paying attention to this place were completely dumbfounded. This is different from what they imagined. How did the goddess get along with the man so harmoniously, and said that she would cover people, which made them embarrassed? They were simply not people inside and out. One of the old priests said immortally, "How about we go and complain to Goddess Hestia?" No one could lie in front of him, and she could surely debunk the male god's conspiracy. The rest of the priests nodded, and they ran to pray in front of the statue in the temple of Hestia, the goddess of fire and truth. In the square, Yibai had a strange expression. In fact, he saw the actions of the old priests before them with his perceptual ability, and he discovered them when they were praying in front of the temple of Artemis, and the result was that he gave himself a goddess. Still coming? Shouldn't you give yourself a goddess again? Originally, I thought that those old sacrifices were an eyesore, but now I find that they are my good teammates. Pocket private space, Artemis came to the castle. This fairy tale style castle occupies an extremely large area, and the interior is like a labyrinth, and you can keep your lost in this place. Artemis wandered with great interest in the spirit of exploration and adventure. Passing around a certain corner, she came across a blonde woman with blonde hair and a white women's suit plus hip skirt. When the other party saw her, he was very puzzled. Hey, who are you? I haven't seen it. Are you playing cosplay? This look reminds me of the female ranger in a certain game. The blonde woman was very talkative, and when she saw Ardennis, a stranger, she didn't wait for the other party to speak, and she said a lot of things first. Oh, forgot to introduce myself, my name is Virginia Pepper Potts, you can call me Pepper. That's when she remembered to introduce herself. I'm Ardennis. Ardennis found the girl in front of him interesting and did not mind talking to the other party. Ardennis? In Greek mythology, the moon and the goddess of hunting are also called this name, and you actually have the same name as her. It's just a coincidence. Can you tell me about this place? Ardennis did not say that she was a goddess. Although I don't know much about this place, it's no problem to tell you about it. Through the introduction of Pepper, Ardennis gradually has a relatively clear understanding of here. Episode 126, Hestia, she is the sister of Hera, Demeter, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, and others, one of the 3 virgin goddesses. Today's Hestia is as mixed as ever. She doesn't like to stay on Mount Kinabalu, and there are too many shipbreaks in Gain's family. There are only 2 kinds of people in that family, one is an enemy, and the other is an enemy. Every time she came home, Hestia's mood would become extremely bad, but those brothers, sisters, nephews, and nieces made her too bad, and simply stayed in the mortal world, out of sight. In her opinion, some illegitimate sons who were only half of Zeus' bloodline were more worthy of friendship than those pure-blooded relatives, such as Heracles, such as Diana, and Helen. Today, she lives with her niece Helen in the foggy capital of England. Speaking of Helen, she was brought to modern society before she experienced her original life fate, and was sent to BC Paradise Island by time travelers. She left Paradise Island in 1948 and lived alone until 1961, when she met her Aunt Hestia in England. Since then, the two have been wandering around the mortal world, and whenever they go to a place, if they think it is good, they will live for a few years, until now. Hestia has no shelf as a god at all, does not steal or rob, and goes to work when he lacks money, which is simply harmless to humans and animals. In the past few years that Helen has followed Hestia, she has been cultivated from the original Amazonian female warrior style into an honest and good girl. On this day, Hestia was working as a waitress in a restaurant, and suddenly, the prayers of the old Amazon sacrifices sounded in his head, saying a lot of bad things about the queen of the Amazon, and even saying that the queen had a man outside. Hestia was speechless. Can you still make me quiet and quiet? I really don't want to care about this kind of trouble. Aunt, what's wrong with you? Helen, who also worked here as a waiter, saw Hestia's expression and thought she was sick. It's a matter of Paradise Island, I'll go over and take a look. I'll go with you, and I have my friends on Paradise Island too. Paradise Island, the big relocation continues. Yibai has been paying attention to his surroundings, waiting for Hestia's arrival. Soon found each other. The other party is different from Ardennis, who likes to be high profile, but low-key to the extreme. She and Helen teleport to Paradise Island, and then blend into the Amazon crowd, not at all inconspicuous, do not pay attention to the two of them. Yibai looked at them in the crowd not far away and beckoned to them. Hestia knew that she had been discovered, and simply took Helen to Yibai. Ignoring the actual age factor, Hestia is a white-haired girl, her temperament can bring family-like warmth to the people around her, and the honesty of her holy flame will put an end to the lies of those around her, and those near her are basically unable to lie. I'm Hestia, and someone has bad intentions for the Amazons to you, can you explain that? He asked. Yibai did not answer his question, but first looked at her and said, Helen, remember Z? Hey, you know Purple too? Helen, of course, she knew Z, who was one of her good friends and a very good soothsayer, but had been missing for many years. Because, I'm Zia. Take the purple figure out of the pocket space and put it by your side. Helen saw this familiar girl, her mouth wide open. The purple doll was controlled by Yibai, and greeted her with a smile. Helen, long time no see. You. She was stunned. Actually, I'm a doll made by Yi. The doll Z introduced Helen to her origins. Yibai looked at Hestia and said, because of Zeus and Athena's calculations, soon Hera will know about Diana's background, and then know about the relationship between Hippolyta and her husband. I told Diana about this, and Diana wanted me to transfer her people to my world to protect them. Facing Hestia, Yibai didn't have to bet on the way of fooling. She knew that the other party was a rare good goddess among the Greek gods who could play with mortals without the slightest shelf. It seems that I misunderstood. Can I visit your world? Hestia demanded. Of course, the purple puppet will act as your tour guide. So, Hestia and Helen followed the purple doll through the gap and entered the pocket fairy world to visit. Yibai took this opportunity to shamelessly register these two as VIP privileged residents, and from today onwards, these two are also their own people. Not far away, secretly observing the sacrifice here, he was dumbfounded again. Could it be that the man really has no malice, but the heart of their villain here? They were still not dead, still the same old priest from before, she said. Try again, if it still doesn't work, give up. Another sacrifice asks, to whom do we pray this time? The old priest said, this time we will tell His Majesty Hera directly. The other sacrifices looked at each other, and finally nodded, gritting their teeth and making up their minds. Okay, just do it. Beside the gap, Yibai had a strange expression. Should these few sacrificial teammates really summon Hera over? If Hera, the Queen of Heaven, also became her own person, she wouldn't have to rob the sacred mountain, and now that Zeus pretended to be dead, that thing directly belonged to him. The stars on Mount Olympus are a place where you can feel the boundless majesty in all directions. But the blonde Hera, who was dressed in a peacock robe, was not very happy at this time. Zeus had been missing for so many years, and rumors of Zeus' death began to circulate on the sacred mountain. The throne of the God King is vacant, and Apollo is watching. Previously, Apollo had actually come here with her sister Artemis to ask her if Zeus was really dead. At this time, a bored-headed hippie woman walked to Hera with a slut steps, twisted, and said in a cool voice, Mother, you are really becoming less and less majestic, and if you continue like this, you may become a great tragedy because of your majesty and being driven out of the sacred mountain by disrespectful people. Hera narrowed her eyes and looked at this daughter who was afraid that the world would not be chaotic. Eris, what happened to the matter I asked you to investigate? The investigation arrived, and before my father disappeared, I really got a pathetic mortal pregnant again. Her name is Zola, and she lives on a farm in Virginia. Eris said what she had investigated, and made a look of wanting to say nothing. What else? Say. Okay, my lord, you are really an impatient. I heard that I also have a little sister. Her mother is Hippolyta, born on a paradise island, and she is a princess of the Amazon. The corner of Eris's mouth showed a sneer. As a goddess of discord, it is her trait to find something to do, and she is uncomfortable if she does not make trouble for a day, describing people like her. When Hera heard that Zeus actually had a wild species, and that he had been born to his most faithful believer, Hippolyta, she almost exploded her lungs. Amazonian, it was she who felt the low status of mortal women back then, and wanted to have more additional faith income, and took the initiative to take the lead with other goddesses to collect the female souls in the hands of men who died tragically in the mortal world, and squeezed out the powerful female mortals with mud. The first Amazons, such as Hippolyta and Antiochus, were all pinched by Hera herself. Now that she heard that Hippolyta had actually hooked up with her husband, she was almost angry. Episode 127. Just when Hera, the Queen of Heaven, was angry, the voices of the old sacrifices of the Amazonians of Paradise Island reached Hera's ears. Upon hearing the content and learning that the Amazons were going to run away and move, the angry Hera immediately got up. Above Paradise Island, suddenly dark clouds were thick, lightning and thunder. Above the firmament, dark clouds formed a spiral shape, and the thunder explosion was more intense, as if the sky was angry. Above the square, all the Amazons, including Yibai, looked up at the sky. Beside Yibai, Hippolyta trembled, for she knew that the only ones who could cause this power were Zeus and Hera. Zeus could not vent his anger to Paradise Island, so the only person who could do this was his goddess Hera. In other words, Hera is coming. Compared with Hippolyta's fear, Yibai was much calmer. He looked at the heavenly dome that seemed to be angry, and inexplicably thought of a line from a certain novel. What's the content? It seems to be, I know that heaven will be angry if man offends its majesty. But God knows that people can be angry? If he ends with nothing. When I beg, you sneer arrogantly. When I cry bitterly, you are indifferent. Now I am angry, I want to hear the cry of heaven, I want to hear God's cry. I know the heavens will be angry, but did you know that the heavens also tremble? This line is very domineering, and if Hippolyta can pronounce this line, it must be very appropriate. Unfortunately, Hippolyta's already frightened pale-face and trembling. Yibai sighed helplessly, walked to her mother-in-law's side, put his hand on her shoulder, and released a pacifying technique, allowing her to temporarily suppress her fear. Don't worry, I'm here. Yibai stepped forward, stood in front of Hippolyta, looked directly at the blonde peacock-clothed woman who gradually descended in the whirlpool of dark clouds in the sky. Hippolyta looked at Yibai's tall back in a daze, thinking of the other party's great power that created the world, and suddenly he was not afraid. My son-in-law is so strong, I'm still afraid of a fart Hera. But she is not afraid to return, but she must respect Hera as well. Hera is the creator of their Amazons and a mother-like being, who wants to punish her daughters for being righteous. Below, the Amazons recognized the person as Hera, the Queen of Heaven, but the other party was obviously not good, and the Amazons did not know the reason, and they seemed very confused. Hera descended from the heavenly dome and walked haughtily towards Hippolyta. Hippolyta came out from behind Yeber and knelt down on one knee to Hera. That was not my intention, my goddess. You did that kind of thing and now know to respect me? Province, Hippolyta. Hera suppressed her anger. I hid you from me to protect my daughter. Hippolyta lowered her head. That's my husband's wild seed. I am the god of goddesses, but after all, I am still a woman. I don't care about your intentions, but the facts you have caused make me angry in my heart. Why, Hippolyta, why are you doing this to me? What sweet words did he use to drag you into? What should I do to get him? Hera's words were interrupted, and Yeber beside Hippolyta said, Your Excellency Hera, I am Yabai. Do you know the reason for Zeus' disappearance? For you and his eldest son are about to break ground, he is poisoned, and the divine right is about to fall. The second-generation Titans have always been eyeing the sacred mountain, and the slightest Ragnarok will come in an instant, and now is not a good time to liquidate. Hera stopped and narrowed her eyes at the man in front of Hippolyta. Just as Ardennes could detect the exaggerated power of faith in Yabai, Hera could detect it. With such a strong faith, this son must not be weak, and may even be stronger than anyone. After all, in this era, there are not many people who truly believe in gods. Olympian gods, all gods belonging to the old era, need to rely on faith to maintain strength, such as the moon and sun gods in this era can still have faith, family and marriage, love and beauty, and other priesthood can also survive. But priesthoods such as war, strife, and forging are sorely lacking in faith. For example, Ares, now the old ones are almost in the soil. Now seeing a belief that is not lacking, but full of existence that is about to overflow, Hera wants to treat the other party as a passerby, and has to pay attention to it. However, she came to Paradise Island with anger to fight the mistress. If she easily exposed this matter and lost face, she needed a step. Yabai was a clever person. Seeing this, he took the initiative to say what he said before. Tell me what you know. Hera said. Are you sure you want me to say it here? Might as well follow me to a quiet place. Yabai opened the gap beside him and invited Hera. Hera didn't know the bottom of Yabai, so she could only walk along the step. She glared at Hippolyta, snorted coldly, and walked into Yabai's gap. Yeber gave Hippolyta a reassuring look, and followed Hera into it, closing the gap. But the big gap is still there. Hippolyta said to the Amazons, the relocation continues. Pocket Castle area, outside the courtyard. In order to improve the surrounding environment, Yabai once ordered the maids in the castle to plant trees outside the castle, transforming the area near the castle into a dreamy fairy tale style, with mountains and forests, and roads paved with various flowers on both sides. Hera is well informed, not very concerned about the beautiful environment here, and the more beautiful places are not unseen, and the environment here can only be said to be good in her opinion. The two appeared on the flower road. Tell me about my first child and where my husband has gone. Hera stared at Yabai and asked about it. Yabai smiled slightly, and unfolded the Dafa of fooling. Your Excellency Hera, if the legend is correct, you are the seventh wife of Zeus, who turned into a soaked cuckoo and flew to you for help. Out of pity, you put it in your chest to keep warm, and he restores it to its original state and forcibly possesses you when you are panicking. Helplessly, you had to accept him and get her promise to be the only diva and share the power together. Mentioned and unwilling to recall, Hera frowned, looking at Yabai's eyes gradually with hostility. What exactly do you want to say? I would like to say that your Excellency's affection for Zeus is not a sibling affection. Please think about this issue. Do you have any feelings for him? I don't think so. Yabai began to distort the concept again. He knew that people who were bound to the residents of this place could not fall in love with anyone other than themselves, and even if they had loved deeply, they would lose that affection after coming here. The reason why I said this to Hera was to make her realize that all the years she spent with Zeus were just self-deception. Hera really followed Yabai's guidance and thought about the relationship with Zeus. I don't want to know. Once she thinks about the problem of feelings, she is stunned to find that it seems. I really have no feelings for Zeus. Whenever the other party messes around, she only feels that her wife and diva have lost face, so she seems to be jealous, not because of emotional factors. Thinking deeply, after he was forcibly possessed by that old ghost, he couldn't wait to kill Zeus in his heart. Only because the other party promised to make himself a diva and share power together, he chose to compromise. I, Hera, love power, not Zeus. Seeing that Hera seemed to have figured out something, Yabai struck while the iron was hot. Your first child with Zeus, he hated his father, but he didn't hate you who interceded for him. Now that your eldest son has become stronger than Zeus and is about to crawl out of the depths of the earth, Zeus is so frightened that he hides and deliberately spreads rumors that he is dead on the sacred mountain, even if you almost believe that he is really dead. Your Excellency, why don't you take this opportunity to sit on the top of the mountain yourself? Hearing that the eldest son was about to be unearthed, Hera's expression was complicated. Hearing that the husband, who could not control his lower body, was frightened by his son and fled, Hera cursed the bastard in her heart for being shameless. Hearing the last sentence, Hera was stunned. Are you kidding? I'm serious, Episode 128. I'm serious. Are you willing to wait for Zeus to sit back in that position and continue to spend his heart? Since he hid and pretended to die, why don't we let him disappear forever? Yabai said. That's right, he wants to kill Zeus, and now Zeus is at his weakest, and only Athena is by Zeus's side. Zeus' only security depends on that no one knows about it, and once the information is leaked, Zeus's little life will be difficult. There is no talk of death, as long as there are people who believe in him, he will not die. But when he is killed, the power of faith in the body will also be lost, and when the faith regathers Zeus to resurrect, I don't know how many years later, the gods of the old era in modern society are not easy to mix, not everyone has Yibai's kind of plug-in. Hera was silent, she was thinking. If she thinks, it means that she is already moved. Yibai continued to bewitch, Hera, I have 3 realms, and we are in this realm, covering an area of about 100,000 square kilometers, which is where I usually live. There are also 2 realms, each about 250 million square kilometers, about half the surface area of the Earth, and the 3 worlds together can exceed the total area of the Earth. I am ready to migrate to it so that I can collect faith, and I hope that you and the sacred mountain of Olympus will move into it, and I promise that you will gain more faith than you were at your peak. Hera looked at him in surprise, the other party actually had 3 such a huge alien space? This kind of thing, even in her Queen Hera, seems incredible enough. Yibai threw her a privilege ring and said, bring it, you can feel it for yourself. Hera took the letter suspiciously, and when he put on this ring for the first time, he sensed everything in the 3 realms in Yibai's mouth. For a long time, she looked at Yibai and asked, what can you get in this matter? I am opening up a god system that belongs to me, I am the creator god of these 3 realms, and I need someone to help me manage the following 2 realms. Now, it depends on whether you want to become Hera, the god king. Yibai looked at her with a smile. Hera narrowed her eyes, how do you prove that you created this world, not luckily picked it up? Yibai felt that his time to pretend to be forced had come again, and he stretched out his hand to Hera, here, grab my hand. Hera put her slender jade hand in Yibai's hand, and her consciousness was taken to a higher dimension by Yibai. 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional, 6-dimensional, 7-dimensional. When Hera found that her hand had been released, consciousness returned to her body. She was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Just now, the one Ji showed her completely subverted her 3 views. She had no doubt that Yibai was qualified to open up the world and create a new god lineage. The other party is a far more powerful existence than Zeus. This time, Hera did not hesitate and nodded, okay, I agree. That afternoon, outside Mount Olympus. As the Queen of Heaven, Hera sent all the gods on the sacred mountain. The reason she used was that the Egyptian god Isis resurrected her son Horus. Hera sends the gang on the mountain to Egypt to sabotage the plan for the revival of the pariah's Egyptian gods. Dionysus, the god of wine, Apollo, the god of war, Hermes, the goddess of discord, Hephaestus, the god of fire, Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, Heber, the goddess of youth, and a whole bunch of chaotic gods and demigods were all fooled out of the mountain. In the end, only Hera and Yibai, who were hiding next to him, were left on the sacred mountain. Hera was also ruthless, and even her own son and daughter flew away. Seeing that everyone was gone, Yibai came out and said, since everyone is gone, let's get started, Hera. Good. Hera nodded. She used her diva privilege to lift all magical prohibitions on the sacred mountain. With magic and protection, the sacred mountain is solid, and it does not even exist in reality. Without magic, Mount Kinabalu is a scenic mountain, and it is also a mountain located in Greece. Yibai floated on the top of the mountain, his eyes turned scarlet like devil-like eyes, and the pupil power of the realm in his eyes was released wantonly, venting the entire sacred mountain everywhere, quickly shrouding it. At a certain moment, Yibai shouted, the realm of heaven and earth is reversed. Oh, in an instant, the sacred mountain reversed and flipped to the pocket fairy world, and a peak in the pocket fairy world flipped into reality at the same time. Hera floated not far from Yibai, and when she saw him flipping the other world to replace reality in an instant, she marveled at the other party's means. This level of things, Hera, is not impossible to do, but it takes a lot of time to arrange magic around the sacred mountain, and also arrange it in another otherworld that can be reached, in order to make a big magic similar to the otherworld flip type, conservatively estimated, with sufficient materials, it will be busy for a few days, and it is higher than Yibai. From today onwards, the sacred mountain of Olympus has completely disappeared above the earth, and the Yibai mission prompt has been completed. Mission, the usurpation of the dynasty has been completed. Your puppet's alchemy level has been increased to LV2. Skill, Puppet Alchemy, LV2. Type, Truth Alchemy, no alchemy array needed. Ability 1, Life Training, can refine any life that theoretically exists. If it is a supernatural life or a life beyond the norm, it is necessary to obtain the body tissues, such as hair, nails, somatic cells, of such life first. Ability 2, Superpossession, which can enchant an ability you have mastered to any living form through alchemy, unlimited dolls. LV2 alchemy is a bit Western. It seems that many interesting things can be done with it. Before he could think deeply, Hera's voice interrupted his surprise. Yi, I'm going to the sacred mountain to hold the succession ceremony. Only I alone, the ceremony will be slower, but it can also make the most profit, it will take a while. Oh, then you go. Yi-Bai said. Hera nodded, used the privilege ring to return to the pocket immortal realm Olympus Divine Mountain, and used the sacred mountain as a ritual venue to become a god king. Olympus Divine Mountain itself is a gathering of massive beliefs. Only the god king is qualified to invoke that part of the faith transformation divine power. Once Hera becomes the god king, her divine power will be filled in an instant, and blessed to far exceed her own power. Otherwise, do you think that Zeus, the youngest of his siblings, became the strongest of his brothers and sisters after becoming the god queen for Mao? Is it not that he can invoke the power of the belief of the sacred mountain? Episode 129. Watching Hera leave, Yi-Bai turned his attention back to puppet alchemy. Although the name of this skill is still called puppet training, when it reaches the 1v2 level, it will no longer be puppets, but real life. Now Yi-Bai can also pat his chest and say to people, we can also learn from Yuwa to create people. Moreover, it is not only people who can be created, but theoretically all possible natural life can be created, such as humans, animals, plants, insects, microorganisms, aliens, and so on. Of course, not all life can be created, such as supernatural beings such as angels and demons, vampires, and werewolves. There are also Kryptonians, Martians, Daxamicians, Eternals, mutants, and other unconventional ones. To create this, you need sample tissue. If she wanted to create Kryptonian, she had to get some samples from Superman or Supergirl, which were disposable consumables, and ran out. LV2 Puppet Alchemy, the second ability given to Yi-Bai is ability granting. From now on, she can give anyone superpowers. The limitation is that each person can only be given one ability, and the ability can be replaced, but not two at the same time. The ability to be given must be oneself, and the ability that you do not have cannot be given to others. He returns to the Pocket Castle and summons the puppet Zizi, who is wandering around the city of Aurora in the Pocket World, ready to test new abilities on her. This puppet has been given the ability to intercet and manipulate dreams by Wanda, and the source of the ability has nothing to do with Yi-Bai, so Yi-Bai can also give the puppet a new ability on its basis. But before that, he activated LV2's alchemy and first upgraded the puppet Miss Z from a puppet state to a real-life form. He asked her, Z, feel the difference from before? She blinked, felt something, and said uncertainly, I feel that many things that I couldn't understand before, but now I can figure it out. Moreover, I have many new ideas. Yi-Bai smiled and said, Congratulations Z, you are no longer a puppet. From today onwards, you are a real life and have everything that a life should have. Ziyan nodded understandingly, she still hadn't figured out what that meant. Next, Yi-Bai used puppet alchemy again and gave her the ability to manipulate the realm. The power of the realm plus is the real Yayun purple template. Maybe if you throw her into the fantasy world, she can still become a pair of good sisters with the real Yakumo Z. At dusk, Wisconsin Fawcett, an amusement park. Under the coercion of Dr. Shabana, Bailiba's own Shazam power was divided among his friends, and the Shazam family was officially born. At this time, they were fighting the 7 deadly sins of Shivanabo. Yi-Bai, who had finished experimenting with his new ability, sensed what was happening here from time to time, and rushed over to make fun. Looking at this group of unreliable guys who suddenly changed from children to adults, Yi-Bai sighed in his heart. The power of Shazam, which was created by the ancient wizards of the Eternal Council imitating the power of the gods. The English spelling of Shazam is Shazam, where S stands for the wisdom of Solomon, H for the power of Hercules, A for the endurance of Atlas, Z for the divine power of Zeus, A for the courage of Achilles, and M for the speed of Mercury. If Yi-Bai had strength, he would never share his power with others at the cost of weakening himself. But what about Billy Bartson? These two forced forces came easily, did not know how to cherish at all, and actually divided most of the power to the friends, which is not enough to describe it with a brain wreck. Yi-Bai shook his head and did not think about this Exor problem, and he began to observe the battlefield. Unlike Thunder Shazam's movie, the arrogance in the 7 deadly sins is the same as the image in the manga, The Battle of the Three-Body Problem, the sideline original sin Three-Body Pandora, a beautiful royal sister who is cold and arrogant. In the battlefield, there is also a character who is not in the movie, she is Pandora, one of the original sin Trisolarum. It was a woman in a red hooded cloak, with scars on her face. This woman, born about 8,000 years ago in the park, because she picked up a 3-eyed skull, was troubled by the self-proclaimed righteous guys led by Shazam and the Eternal Council, betrayed her as the worst evil of mankind, not only ruined her face, but also cursed her to live and suffer forever. The guys in the Eternal Council are really arrogant, and they don't know what the skeleton is. Just with the 7 deadly sins out of the skeleton, they rightfully treat it as a magic box and sentence the innocent girl Pandora. And the 3-eyed skull, because this matter is called Pandora's box. Pandora didn't understand anything, thinking that what the Eternal Council said was the truth, and that she was the worst person who brought the 7 deadly sins to Earth. For more than 10,000 years, she had taken the 7 deadly sins as her fault and tried to kill them. In order to kill the 7 deadly sins, Park 44 she learned the Druid way deep in a forest in Antrim, Park 113 learned martial arts in Jerusalem, Park 20 years became a medical sorcerer in Nepal. Park 1328 she learned swordsmanship in Songshan. Park 1418 she learned judo in Osaka. Park 1590 Nance learned bow and arrow. Park 1705 Volensberg learned magic. Park 1705 Volensberg learned magic. 2013 learned marksmanship. The long time gave her erudite talent. While learning, she fights wits with the 7 deadly sins. But to be honest, she is right to be knowledgeable, and if you want to say how strong the strength is, then hee. It may be a matter of talent. Some people can go far in magic, but many more people can learn. No matter how much they learn, the upper limit of achievement is there. Obviously, Pandora's talent in the supernatural field is very average, and she is barely better than Constantine. She can win against a single sin, and she has a chance to win against 2, and once she deals with 3, she immediately falls behind. At this time, arrogance, jealousy, and plague are besieging the magical Mary, and Pandora is by her side to help her and fight alongside her. The rest of the Shazam family members are entangled by Dr. Shyvana with rage, laziness, greed, and gluttony. Pandora and Fantastic Mary are pressed down, and the 7 deadly sins will not kill Pandora, the mother, but they show no mercy to magical Mary. In order to save this child with a strong sense of justice, Pandora kept saving the scene, and the 2 were in a difficult situation and almost survived. I don't know what Principal Shazam's divine power is. After being transferred to the little girl Mary Batterson, there was also a mutation, and the gods of the power of the 6 gods changed. Although the initials are still Shazam, the goddess of the moon Selena, the Amazon queen Hippolyta, the Minotaur's daughter Ariadne, the wind goddess Cepheus, the dawn goddess Aurora, and the wisdom goddess Minerva, these 6 names are also Shazam_. Episode 130. To be honest, Mary Batterson, Magical Mary, has Hippolyta in the power of the 6 gods, and Yeber is very speechless. However, Hippolyta is indeed very strong, at least in martial arts. Yibai speculates that Ms. Shiva, who is known as the #1 killer on Earth who has defeated Batman many times, may not be able to make a few moves in the face of Hippolyta. Hippolyta was not a god, but had a little supernatural ability, but it was not much and was not commonly used. At her peak, most of her ability came from the equipment Diana was wearing now. Since Diana left the island, the equipment naturally followed her daughter. However, since Yibai copied the Wonder Woman suit, the original set was returned to her mother by Diana, so Hippolyta's combat effectiveness is actually similar to Diana's, who does not lift the seal of the Guardian silver bracelet. In fact, even without this equipment, Hippolyta is not weak, definitely several times stronger than the ninja master Lars El Ghul in the South Darbak Assassin League. The ninja master can wield a sword to block all the bullets that suddenly fire at him from the submachine gun. Hippolyta, as Hera's first Amazonian, was much more powerful than the average Amazon. Most of her strength comes from martial arts, not physical fitness. The ninja master lived for 800 years on the demon Lazarus Pool, and he practiced such a terrifying martial art. And what about Hippolyta? She has lived from the ancient Greek period to the present, and her martial arts can be seen. Ahem, the topic is far away. Mary Batterson, Billy's twin sister, adopted Mary after their parents were murdered and renamed Mary Bromfield. Until a recent chance encounter, Billy and Mary met with the necklace left by their parents. The manga setting is used here, just when Pandora was not rescued in time, seeing that the magical Mary was about to be killed by arrogance, jealousy, and the plague. In the shadows of the ground in front of Mary, countless shadows rose up, turning into a large number of fireballs, ice picks, wind blades, and arcs to force the enemy back. This is Yibai's illusion system shadow spell. Yibai put his hands in his pockets and walked out of the shadows next to him step by step, with a lazy expression on his face, and a faint voice came out of his mouth. The injured human beings here will be healed. Along with the spirit of words, the catharsis of divine power in Yibai's body rushed to the ground, instantly spreading to the playground. All the injured people, including Pandora, Magical Mary, Captain Fantastic, and several other members of the Shazam family, their wounds healed quickly. Yibai's footsteps did not stop, and the voice continued to come out of his mouth. It's time to lower the divine punishment, sleep peacefully, and reduce everything to nothing. Please don't complain about me. Above the heavenly dome, a thunderbolt on a sunny day, the divine punishment technique was prompted. The thunder instantly illuminated the entire city of Fawcett, and the 8 thunder that humans could not see directly fell below, and the 7 sins and Shyvana were struck by lightning at the same time. The 7 sins have no substance and are directly cut into the smoke. But as long as there is desire in the world, it will be born again. Dr. Shyvana uses Shazam, snatched from the Rock of Eternity. This wave of heavenly punishment blocked and saved a small life, but Shazam's staff was shattered by the thunder divine punishment. He no longer cared about fighting with Captain Fantastic. Billy Bossun looked at the person who lowered the divine punishment in fear, combined with what the other party said before, plus the divine punishment did fall, and immediately realized that the person might be a legendary god, did not dare to stay in place, turned around and ran. Yi did not kill him completely, since his could avoid his move, why not leave him alive? The other party was the enemy of the Shazam family, not his enemy. As for worrying about the other party's 30 years of Hadong, 30 years of Hashi's retaliation? It's not that Yi looks down on him, wait until he can surpass the Supreme. Yi Bai's previous line that began with "I want to lower the divine punishment" was just that he chanted it casually, and it had nothing to do with the divine punishment technique itself. That's actually the line that the goddess Athena says when she zooms in on her moves in a Saint Seiya fighting game. He felt that this line was very suitable for the divine punishment technique, so he used it. Pandora and the members of the Shazam family, at this time, their attention was not on the fleeing Dr. Shyvana, but all focused on using only 2 words to overturn Yi Bai, who had made them a thorny enemy before. Someone walked up to Pandora, and the magical Mary looked at Pandora and said, "Divine punishment is only for sin, it does not cut you and prove that you are not guilty." The guys of the Eternal Council. Oh, or as always self-righteous, actually let this little girl bear the crime that did not exist for so long. His words stunned Pandora, and she trembled, not because she was afraid, but because for the first time in 10,000 years, someone said that she was not the original sin, and the meaning of this to her was not intended to be a light in the gray and dead desperate life. Am I really not guilty? But the 7 deadly sins. That's just a coincidence, even without you, that 3-eyed skeleton would have been picked up by others, you are just unlucky. Show you a clear way, go to Mrs. Xanadu, her real name is Nimuine Mandu, don't ask me where she is, as long as you want to find her, you will definitely be able to find it, that's all. Yi Bai said and turned to leave. Mrs. Xanadu is an ancient relic. In ancient times, before human beings, there were several seasons of other civilizations. Mrs. Xanadu was one of them. Civilization fell. She became a relic, has been living in the world, leaving many legends, such as the 3 sisters of the goddess of the lake in the Arthurian story. She is one of them. In this day and age, Mrs. Xanadu has become a soothsayer, relying on a deck of tarot cards to walk the world. She will lead the formation of the Dark Justice League in the future, and Pandora will be one of them. Yi Bai is not interested in Pandora. As for the magical Mary? Beautiful is beautiful, and her figure is also great, but although she is a beautiful woman with a convex front and a back, in fact, people are just Shazam transformations. In essence, she is still a 12 or 13-year-old little girl. Yi Bai is not interested in the little girl. Wait a few years. Captain Fantastic and Fantastic Mary and others wanted to call him out and ask who he was. But as Yi Bai walked, his body became thinner and more transparent, and after taking a few steps, he dissipated into the air. After he left, Pandora looked at the people of the Shazam family with complicated eyes, and finally sighed and said, "If in the future, if you see the old Shazam, pass a message to him on my behalf, go to NM, the old lady will not play." Pandora turned around and left after speaking. Since the 7 deadly sins have nothing to do with herself, she is still forced to endure 10,000 years of pain. The resentment in her heart is almost overflowing into substance, not directly blackened, it is a strong endurance honed by a long time. Several friends of the Shazam family looked at each other. Marvel World, New York, New Hellfire Club, bar area. Pepper and Ardennis, who had just arrived here, were chatting here. Ardennis, the first thing she encountered after being fooled into the pocket space by Yi Bai, was Pepper. Pepper is a very talkative nature, and these days they come and go, and the two become friends. She was invited by the other party to be a guest in the other party's world, and through the extra-dimensional nature of pocket space, Ardennis came to a new worldview. To be honest, it really lifted her eyes. Although the overall environment here is similar to her world, she is quite shocked by this kind of cross-world thing. Do you like urban legends? There's an interesting urban legend here. Pepper began her urban legend again.